But before that, to build out some context on the next conversation, the pandemic has changed everything. The way we live, the way we work, that change has created an opportunity to start over, to free people from the limitations of just following some of the traditional business practices and policies that we've been following in business for as long as I remember. And especially in the area of how we operate and engage with our employees, more from a human resources organization perspective. It is an opportunity for us to rethink what works best for our employees today. We are lucky to have Sufel Barkat join us today. He's the head of HRIS at Gallaghar, one of the largest insurance companies in the world, and in this thought leadership session, to explore the changes brought on by the pandemic and what HR business leaders should consider to meet those challenges and take advantage of the current situation. So before coming to Gallaghar, Sufel spent a lot of time at large corporations like GE, Hyatt Hotels, and Accenture, where he was consulting and he was devising and executing on strategies to optimize systems, processes, and tools and ensure digital transformation is executed to drive growth and engagement among employees. So welcome, Sufel. Thank you so much, and very glad to have you on the show here today.
Hey, again, thank you everyone for having me here today. I do want to thank the Distill Summit for ensuring that they do a great job at bringing in great resources to help assist in everyone and provide information and share information across the board. So I do want to thank the summit and everybody that's participating in ensuring that it is a success. And thank you, SuneraTech, for having me here today on the panel. I do appreciate it and look forward to the questions we're about to answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Sufel. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. They're always power-packed with valuable insights for the audience. So let's get this rolling with a broader question for you, Sufel. Right now, we see that there's a lot of disruption happening in the insurance space, especially with a lot of startups disrupting the existing models, making insurance a hotbed for digital innovation, I guess, if you may. In response, traditional companies are seeing an urgent need to embrace change and rethink some of those business models to move towards a more compliant, agile, and digitally enabled operating model to enhance some of the customer and employee stakeholder experiences. And when it comes to new digital tools like automation, AI, and analytics capabilities, these are being embraced to help streamline new product development, make new digital experiences, and transform some of the key functions, right from marketing, distribution, underwriting, claims to finance and accounting. Given this, can you throw some light on the broader industry transformation state and also probably double click on some of the strategic direction that Gallaghar is taking today?
That's a great question. I appreciate you asking that question. So from an industry perspective, now this is my own personal opinion, but the insurance market is getting a much, let's say, smaller as far as consolidations are occurring, acquisitions are occurring, mergers are occurring, and so with a lot of these changes occurring in the marketplace, I think there's a lot of, let's say, opportunity for positioning companies to be more agile and more flexible and get automation to help ensure that they can do things faster, quicker, and less expensive. And I think that's taking the industry and the companies through a lot of change management to ensure that the company's processes and let's say industry components can now absorb let's say the lightning speed at things occurring. So the acquisition process in the insurance industry is happening more and more. They're taking on more of the smaller, businesses and bringing them on board. And with that, we need to make sure we're more agile and we're more flexible to ensure that we can do that from an HR perspective quickly and easily, to ensure that things like that occur, very, very smoothly. Our employees are our biggest asset. And so we need to make sure that when we do acquire employees, that we bring them in, smoothly, and that they're happy with the transition, joining Gallaghar as a company or any other insurance company, as a matter of fact.
All right, great perspectives there, Sufel. And as an extension to that thought, and continuing the thread from the earlier question, you being a key leader in the digital transformation formulation, focused on transitioning some of your current business processes, especially around HR, and trying to transform them into a lean, secure, and economically scalable function. Can you talk about how you're bringing together automation and advanced analytics and some of the digital initiatives, including cloud, to accelerate value creation in the HR function to drive growth?
No, thank you for that follow-up question. That is a great follow-up question as well. So we have started to implement, and I thank God that we did start doing this, a few years back. So we started looking into how to revert and leverage technology and automation components to help us get to that end goal. We migrated off of any on-premise systems that we had from an HR perspective, and we migrated over to a, more of a cloud-based, application and system. Especially nowadays with all of the, let's say, hacking going on in the industry, security being a main focus in the industry, we need to ensure that things stay secure, and for our own internal folks to be able to keep up. It gets pretty difficult, right? So it makes it a lot easier when you're in the cloud to ensure that the automation can be applied, the security can be applied, and the smoothness or the frequency of it occurring is completely, let's say, feasible for you to ensure that it happens quickly. So some of the things we've taken into consideration a few years back was to migrate to the cloud on our HR systems. And then we implemented tools around that to help us automate and securely ensure that we can keep up with the new, let's say, research and development components that the industry is doing, that the software vendors are doing. And we've leveraged cloud testers. So testing in the cloud that helps us automate the testing process, regression testing, so we can take advantage of new patches, new features, functionalities, and get them up and running quickly. We've also taken advantage of automated acquisition processes to onboard employees, bring them onto our payroll, get them up and running quickly, using some of these features and functions and automation tools using artificial intelligence, workflows, chatbots, you name it. We have a piece of a little bit of everything. We're just, let's say, on the brink of getting used to using these components. And once we get used to using these technologies and these new processes and get more comfortable, I think the floodgates are going to open for a lot more usage to happen in various areas across the HR functions globally. So we roll out components that are automated for specific purposes across the board many times, and focus on specific countries and employees first, and then once that's a success, we make it available to the bigger audiences. So that's been our strategy and our approach in implementing technologies. We've done, like I said, testing automation. We've done patching automation, and working with some of our software vendors like SuneraTech and Oracle. We've come a long way in the last few years as far as making things work and leveraging the automated tools that we have available to us. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks, Sufel. Those are some really great insights. One last question before I let you go. Given AJG's critical need for accelerating digital initiatives, and some of them you've already talked about, in fact, you talked about a lot of those digital initiatives that you planned for 2021. across multiple HR business operations. Can you talk about your strategies on how you prioritize in accelerating and executing some of these initiatives while ensuring that the target outcomes are met?
No, that's a great question as well. Follow up on the previous question. So I'll start from the where you ended and work backwards. In my personal experience and my personal expertise has been showing that the execution of these components is actually the simplest part of it. We spend a lot of time, and our strategy and our kind of process has been spending as much time as you can on the processes, change management, and on the ROI. So explaining and ensuring that there's a business case, ensuring that there is going to be an ROI at the end of the day, and then getting it prioritized accordingly. So depending on how much cost efficiencies, process efficiencies gain you're going to have, we prioritize that project accordingly, right? So if it does have if it's a no-brainer, you're going to save X number of dollars over, 3 years as a TCO, then the leadership team, quickly says, yes, prioritize this one, let's go with it, number one priority. So we spend a lot of time kind of getting that stack in place, which is the ROI, the TCO, the change management component, the resources, where they're going to be coming from, and what that's going to look like over 3 to 5 years. And once we have that justification and we have buy-in from leadership on that, the prioritization becomes a no-brainer. And then the execution is basically left up to myself and others on my team to ensure that we bring in the right skill sets and the right resources to execute on according to that ROI and meet those business cases, the change management component, and ensure that we are as close as possible to the TCO that we had originally presented. And then the prioritization happens with the pipeline, kind of saying, okay, what else is going on during that period of time, and what additional resources do we need? And we bring on those resources accordingly. And then the execution is left. I have a team of project managers. So I assign it to one of them, and then they run with the project and ensure that they work with our partners in bringing up that technology or automating a process or ensuring that the change management component across our employees is managed properly and communicated. Of course, that's the biggest component of change management is communication. So we ensure that everyone knows what's coming, when it's coming, how it's coming. As far as the testing is concerned, we also ensure that there's a testing buffer in each one of these projects. So when we do our user acceptance testing, we do a thorough job of ensuring that we leverage automated scripts where we can, and as well as human resources where we can, to help us ensure that the testing across, and then we pull in resources globally. So they come in from other countries, from different places, to ensure that it's working for them as well. And unless we get sign off from every single component, from the technology, from the process, from the change management, and from the system side, we do not move forward. And once we have that appropriate sign off, we go ahead and migrate to production, and then we start reaping the benefits. A good example of that is in HR, we have what we call the PAF form, or the profile form for an employee. That was a manual process before we went to the cloud. Once we got to the cloud, we automated that process and built it into our tools that we had in the system using technology. And now a lot of the processes around termination, salary changes, promotions, managing employees is all automated using self-service components, as well as workflows and scripts that we have created. So they work really well together, and the automation is coming forward more and more. And as we find that to be a success, we're looking at other processes consistently. A lot of requests are coming in. The pipeline is very large to ensure that we can leverage a lot of the tools that we have available to us now. Thank you very much for your time and your questions. On a follow-up note, I know I spoke about how to prioritize projects as number one, but on the opposite end of that, I did want to end with if projects didn't qualify or didn't have an ROI or business case, it's fairly obvious, but those projects would get either dropped or pushed to the bottom of the stack as low priorities. Just informational. But thank you again. And thank everyone. Hopefully this does help assist them in kind of framing their processes around automation and ensuring that their organization can take advantage of some of the information I've provided. So hopefully they can proceed in that manner as well.